So, welcome everybody. Looking forward to talking to you today about growth and transformation. And when I think about growth and transformation, I kind of like make it ultra simple for a simple guy like me. We're talking about change, right? We're talking about growth and transformation both involve change. And we're talking about change in two areas. A change of mind, right? Often looked as an insight or a change in our beliefs about ourselves as adoptees, as people. And we're talking about a change of heart, right? A change of the way we feel about ourselves, the way we feel about other important people in our lives. So it's change of mind, change of heart, and how we get that because we want to feel better in ourselves, right? And originally, this we will, for the last 6 months on the podcast and my conversations with Jude, we've been focusing on healing, and uh, everybody's got a different definition of that word healing. And some people don't like that word healing because it's got religious connotations. Will it ever be ended? That it's an ongoing process. That seems a little bit, unclear, a bit woolly. So we came up with this idea of, well, what else could we look at instead of healing or as well as healing? And we came up with this idea of growth and transformation. So that's what we're going to be diving in with. So Jude's we're gonna flip and change between the two of us for this webinar. So thanks again for coming. Over to you, Jude.
Are we ready to go ahead and do the
Yeah,
uh,
the housekeeping.
housekeeping slide?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right,
cool.
you guys go. Okay, this is where we begin. So each of us, first of all, welcome. So glad to have you guys here because each of us is taking time out of our lives to participate in this spiral of growth. We call it a spiral of growth because we've learned that growth and healing are not linear. It doesn't really go in order sometimes, but it's more of a spiral, and we gain perspective and a change of understanding each time we go around. It's a spiral going up like that. And so, this growth and transformation is a spiral of growth that we're inviting you guys into. We value your time and presence here. We value your voice and expression. And we honor the intensity of being vulnerable and seen by others. Just by being here and saying that we're longing for growth and transformation can feel vulnerable and being seen on a screen. So we thank you for that. We honor your feelings as real and valid, even though they may be different from what others are expressing. We ask that we each be mindful of keeping ourselves aligned to these values by staying muted unless you're sharing. And for this sampler, what we're doing is asking you guys to take notes if you want. I always suggest taking notes. And if you have any questions that come up, please use the chat for that. Let's not use the chat for chat, but let's use it for the questions. And then at the end, we're going to do our best to get to the questions that are there in that chat. Um, and if the option is available for you, please leave your camera on as a way of showing yourself and others that you honor the authenticity and vulnerability that's being shared here today. And as always, please generously pour love into yourself and into each other, holding intentional awareness that you're doing your best and so are they. Go ahead to the next one, Simon.
Yeah. So growth. I think the biggest driver for me has been separating the trauma I feel from the essence of who I am. Because whilst the one and the same, I felt anyway stuck. I felt stuck with my trauma. And once we start to separate out between maybe the trauma that I talk about, this rock paper scissors thing, right? So the rock is us, the trauma is the trauma hides us, right? The trauma hides us, and we unroll the paper to separate the trauma that we feel from the essence of who we truly are. And we see that we're bigger. We're separated out, and we've seen that we're bigger than our trauma, right? We're bigger in in every way, and hopefully we start to see our lives changing for the better as we distance ourselves from what Jude talks about as the trauma-bound identity. So if the trauma is is the rock, right? And it's the identity, a trauma-bound identity is when when that essence of who we are is hidden, is bound by our trauma. So that's what we're talking about here. We're not our trauma. We disidentify from our trauma, and we're seeing that we are more than our trauma, and that's helping us along this growth spiral.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll just hit on it really quickly because Simon mentioned it. I call it our trauma-bound identity. And for us as adoptees, because of the early age that our coping mechanisms, our fight, flight, freeze, and fawn were invoked, and that our identity was not formed prior, our identity and stories, narratives, the meanings that we uh, grew up with are really woven together. And so we do go through this process of seeing, having these insights and these moments that were not our trauma and begin to, as Simon said, disentangle it and differentiate what's me, what's the trauma. And that's part of our growth cycle as adoptees and really beginning to build our identity and come into and understand that our essence is not our trauma and that it's separate, like the rock, paper, scissors that Simon shared. Thank you, Simon. Head to our next page. So the seeing that moment is a big step in our growth. All right. What supports our growth is what we were just talking about. Number one, I think first and foremost, are insights. When we have those insight moments, one of our very well known languaging around this for in the adoptee community is coming out of the fog. It's that moment, right, that we first either realized that adoption, was something other for us than what we were told. For me, it was a moment where all the grief came up and out. And yeah, I was a massage therapist and realized immediately that it was trauma and started Googling adoption trauma because I was really sobbing, heaving, grieving over the loss of my biological mother at 51 years old. All of a sudden, she wrote me. That's what triggered it. But it was like, oh, there's all this in there. So it was a huge insight that set me on a very intentional journey of transformation, growth, healing of that specific root wound. So insights will give us kind of bring something that's unconscious into our consciousness so we can intentionally, with awareness, shift out of that old belief. So we can shift into life affirming beliefs. We can choose and create supportive connections. We have more awareness because of the insight, right? So now it's in our awareness. Now we can choose differently and we can do differently and create differently and change our life, change how we interact in our relationships with ourselves, with others, and with life itself. And also, what supports our growth is learning to self-care, self-love, self-nurture, and to really attune to ourselves. So what's neat about each of these is that, we started out with this trauma and no agency or say, and a huge choice, a huge life-changing choice that was made for us at birth. But now we can take the insights and really begin to move into our agency and choose life-affirming beliefs, supportive connections and relationships. We can choose to move in more awareness and attune to ourselves with self-love and nurture. And that really will support our growth and propel us forward in ways that feel good for us. Anything else you'd like to add, Simon?
Yeah. So these are the insights, right? So I was talking about a change, a change of mind. They've got all sorts of different words that mean the same. So aha moments, epiphanies,
Yeah.
epiphanettes, right? Little epiphany moments. When the penny drops for us, when we see something new. So this is back to the general theme of change. It's about a new thing, right? A new thought that comes to us uh, when we become aware of something new, and we're going to kind of run through some of the kind of like the insights that we have. What we're doing today is we're kind of creating a space for insights. When I'm running the podcast, I'm mining the guests for their insights. What is it that's helped them move along, right? And the hope is that their insights catalyze insights within you, the listener, if I'm doing the podcast. What we're doing with this webinar today is we're sharing some insights in the hope that they catalyze some insights too. And we're giving this taster of this growth and transformation um, course that we're running. So yeah, a sight from within. We have to see them for
Yeah.
ourselves. There's no such thing as a second-hand insight. If we could give you these insights, right, and email you them, we would, but we can't. You have to see them for yourself.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I believe it's Maya Angelou who says that, when I knew better, I did better, right? Like, and the insight really does have to come within. It has to be a truth that we own for us to actually create a change, right? So that's when, once we know better, then we do better.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, Simon, are our faces over the insights on your
Uh,
screen,
no, I
or
can
can you
see
see?
this. I can see
Okay,
them fine. Yeah.
okay.
So
These are,
some insights, right, that I've just picked up along the way from other people. And the most significant for one for me here is that second one, right? So my birth mother really loved me. So I'm 40. I find out that my the teddy bear that I've had um, for as long as I can remember is from my birth mother. I've been told that I was adopted, but when I was two, but I wasn't told where who the teddy bear came from. And for me, this anger came out. Right? She didn't love me enough to keep me. She gave me the teddy bear as a consolation prize, right? But a lot of anger and swear words, right? And then 8 years later, I I get my adoption file, and in there is a letter about the teddy bear from my birth mother. And it's a letter to the social worker, and as I read this letter, I feel her I feel her pain, right? I feel the power imbalance. I feel and read her love for me, and the tears are streaming down my face, right? And it becomes clear to me that my birth mother really loved me, right? So these are quite matter of fact as we've set them out here, but these are uh, big emotionally breakthrough, really big breakthrough moments, like a breakthrough moment when we see something. So I've gone from feeling unloved by her to feeling loved by her, and I've broken down to break free, and that is a huge insight that takes me along. So um, perhaps I put a little. Sorry, do you want to just pop?
hold on, it just flipped on me.
Okay,
There we
cool.
go.
So down at the bottom here on the insights page, we've got a question for you really to mull over. What have been your most profound insights? What new ideas have come to you that have helped you move along um, this growth and transformation process? Uh, I love this, the second to last one. I saw that on a web page the other day, right? A new narrative needs a new narrator. So we've got the adoption agencies saying one thing, or more than one thing. We've got them leading on some of the stuff that's going on. We've got adoptive parents saying another thing, and we're the narrators. We need to be the narrators for our stuff, right? So, but uh, if we come, I know for myself, if I was back in my kind of like angry phase, then I'm not going to be a really good communicator. I'm not going to be a narrator that people listen to, right? So I have to just wind it in a little bit, right? So that I can get my message across that I'm not cancelled. If we go anywhere near this advocacy piece, and the other people see where we're coming from, then they can kind of cancel us. They can ignore us. So, um, but these are insights that have helped people move on. Right. My worth is inherent. So the Thriving Adoptees logo, right? It's a diamond. It's a diamond. So that's a conscious reminder of your worth, right? So one of our biggest beliefs, we're going to get onto beliefs in a minute, that there's something wrong with us. And and um and does that hold us back? Does that help us grow? We're going to talk about beliefs in a minute. So I don't know. Have you got anything else on that one, Jude?
Uh, well, there's one that I think more recently really speaks to me is I didn't think I could be happy without getting all the answers about my past. I didn't think I could be happy, really be happy and enjoy my life fully, but I can. And uh, so that's been really a powerful shift for me. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, we've got so many
Yeah.
questions. We've had so
Awesome.
many of us had so many questions for so long, and we're hooked into that belief that we need the answers before we can move on. We're not comfortable in the unknowing, and there's always going to be more to know, right? We're going
Yeah.
to be what should I say? We're going to be postponing our own happiness till we find some information.
Yeah, exactly. Why postpone
So
it?
yeah, we're putting our happiness on hold for some. We're looking for change. We're looking for change on the outside rather than change on the inside. Yeah.
Thank you. So, what gets in the way? Beliefs. We often have limiting beliefs or beliefs that don't support our growth that, are pretty much part of our unconscious. And, like one of them, and we'll go over some on the next page, but one is that, I'll always be healing. I'll always, or I can't be healed, it's just never get to the other side of that. Our mindset narrative, like what are the stories that we have about ourselves, group think, and our unconscious or shadow beliefs, and identifying with our wounds. So again, that trauma-bound identity, the unconscious and shadow, those are the things that we often are unaware of. It can be, I've done a lot of archetype work. So the archetypes, like our victim archetype, our child archetype, prostitute, which doesn't mean what it sounds like. It means the point that we will sell ourselves to have something else. So like where we'll give up on something, like not being authentic and standing in our authentic truth to people please. That would be the prostitute shadow or archetype, because we don't want to, disgruntle friends, family. We don't want people to be disappointed in us. So we will not be true to ourselves in that moment. And then the saboteur. So those are the four archetypes everyone has, and we contend with them, and they can sometimes sabotage us. and sabotage our growth. And so that's the unconscious shadow. Simon, anything else here that you would like to
Yeah.
add before we
Um,
get into beliefs?
so one thing that isn't on here that kind of sums it up again, looking at um, ultra simplicity, we say that I got in my way, right? So what got in the way? Somebody asked me a question, what got in the way? Well, I got in my way, right? How's that even possible? What we're talking about here isn't us getting in our own way. And people use this a lot, right? People say, yeah, I get in
Mhm.
my own way, right? It's not. It's a thought, or it's a thought that's developed into a belief. A belief is just basically a bigger thought, something that we're taking, something that's bigger, that's something that we're taking more seriously. So we can't get in our own way. If we're getting in our own way, it's one of these things, right? One of these six things.
Hmm.
So that's you can't get in your own way. Only I can't get in my own way. I can't do it. I can't do it physically, right? There's only one of me. If I'm, groupthink, this is the one that really worries me. So because when I was suffering, I was doing quite a good job with my own beliefs about suffering and being wounded and stuff, right? I was making a pretty fair fist of it. But if we're hanging around with others, right? If we are if we are if the people that we're hanging around with don't believe that we can grow and transform, then that their groupthink is going to hold us back. And I think, well, what would have happened to me, right? I was already making a pretty good job of feeling wounded on my oath. My belief was that I was stuck with the primal wound. That wasn't reinforced by anybody else. But what if our beliefs are being reinforced by other people, and that it's going to make them harder to shift? So that's the really concerning one for me. The group think it's like who we are spending that time with.
So, and I think for us, for me, it is the identifying with our wound, because it took me so long to realize that's what I was doing and to shift out of that and to discern what was me and what was the wound because I carried it for so long, that trauma-bound identity. And then a lot of it, we're talking about a journey from what's unconscious in us and bringing it into our consciousness. And so that's why a group like this, where there's a lot of support and we're able to share, and I'm talking about what we're going to present at the end, is helpful because it is a journey from the unconscious into these moments of awareness and insight, these aha moments that I hope you guys were considering and maybe writing down a couple that you've had, because that's how you begin to shift your beliefs and your mindset and your narrative and out of the group think. So, yeah, Simon, are we good to go to the
We're
next
good to go,
page?
yeah.
Awesome.
So we put these things down here, beliefs to bust. I've been saying this for a while. Um, we don't hear a lot about beliefs in the adoptee world, and yet our biggest challenge for so many of us is the belief that there's something wrong with us. I saw something great from Gabor Mate a few weeks ago. He said, um, there's no such feeling. There's no such feeling as not feeling good enough. It's a belief, right?
Mm,
So what is a belief somehow gets hidden as a feeling. I don't feel I'm enough. I don't feel I'm good enough. I don't feel I'm worthy enough. Yeah, those aren't feelings. Those are beliefs. And for me, beliefs seem far more bustable than trauma seems healable, right? So something
Mm,
going on in my little mind, right? I can have an insight and I can bust a belief. Okay, I'm sure I've done that in the past. I can do more of that. Is trauma healable? Well, what does trauma mean? What does healing mean? And we're off to a whole level, if you're like me, king of overthinking, right? We're off to the party, and the questions are coming fast, thin and fast. And I'm thinking, okay, well, so who do I need to get me to heal? Oh, I need to find. Oh, people are saying that I need to find a adoption competent therapist. How can I do that? Should I have a somatic therapist? Should I have EMDR? And the world's right. It's like it's all internal. It's all in the future. It's all in the future. And I'm stuck, right? I'm stuck in the mud, whirring my wheels, right? So that beliefs seem more bustable to me than trauma seems healable. And that gives me hope. That gives me hope. That gives me faith. Faith in an ongoing growth and transformation, right? Hope and faith. Not religious faith, but faith that things can get better. Um, and then the bottom one here is I think the therapists have somehow cornered the market here, right? And we've got this
mhm.
belief that healing is only psychological, right? Well, it's not. It's we're going to come on to that in a moment. What's become clear to me, what became clear to me last year, I had an insight, right? I will be psychologically, I will be healing forever, right? That's looking at healing on one level. But underneath my psychology, I am and I was already and always whole, right? So we're back to the the metaphor of the rock and the paper. So the dominant metaphor is this primal wound, right? What the primal wound's saying is with, with rock, paper, scissors, is that we're the rock and the scissors can cut the rock and can wound who we are. But that's not the truth. In with rock, paper, scissors, the rock beats the scissors. We're not denying that adoptee trauma is real. It's real, but it's not what, in my opinion, right? It's not about the scissors, like Nancy Verrier would say, with the wound, because the wound, scissors can't cut the rock. It's the paper. The paper conceals who we truly are. So that's looking at healing at two levels: psychological and spiritual, essential, at the essence of who we are. No need to heal. And we're going to broaden that out in a little while. So
Yeah, so this list from Simon's work and my work were the beliefs that we see often within our community. And so I will never heal. I don't feel good enough or worthy enough. I've got every right to be angry. Being adopted is like being jailed for life. I am broken. Being adopted has damaged my essence, and healing is only psychological. We're often only looking at that area of healing when we're talking about healing. We're going to go to the next slide to talk about alternative beliefs. So these are some alternatives that we can shift into for those beliefs that were listed on the other page. These are I can heal, I can grow, I can transform, right? I am good enough, and beliefs can change. My anger is justified, and I prefer peace. I can be free. Underneath the trauma, I am whole. Being adopted has hidden my essence, but it didn't change it, right? It didn't damage it, just hid it from me. Healing, growth, and transformation are holistic instead of it being only psychological because we're a whole person. And we'll talk more about that. I can feel good in my body and happy with life. So for me, I think underneath the trauma, I am whole, uh, has been one of the most powerful belief changes. And then the work for me has been to connect to felt sense of my wholeness, right? Because having the belief is one aspect of growth and transformation. It's kind of the growth step, and the transformative step has been in me being taking the time to change my neural pathways into a felt sense of wholeness. And then that changes how I'm interacting, how I feel about myself, and how I feel about life. So that's been my most, I think, powerful shift of belief. Simon, do you have anything to add here before we go to the next
Yeah,
slide?
a shift of belief is an
Mhm.
insight. A
Yes,
new neural pathway is an insight. We are high, people talk about this word neuroplasticity, right? That's our brain's ability to change. And
yes,
the brain changes through an insight. It happens once, and then maybe the neural pathway is worn over time, right? So it solidifies. The new belief solidifies. It becomes stronger. It becomes the one, like to use a metaphor, it becomes the concrete that has set with the steel inside it, right? It becomes rock solid. It becomes rock solid, and that's what the neuro. So you've got an insight, and then you've got an ongoing process. So yeah,
yes, exactly. Right. So we want to make the connection so that it becomes a well-worn pathway. Thank you. To our next slide. Transformation. Simon?
yeah. I'm looking at the time. I'm thinking,
Okay.
trying to growth can lead to larger transformation. So we're talking about degrees of change here. A change in our energy, right? A change in our feeling, a change in our beliefs. A change of mind, and a change of heart. And we're talking about incremental Kaizen stuff. The Kaizen is the Japanese word for incremental changes, right? Incremental or huge changes, incremental that come together,
Yes.
incremental that snowball, right? The snowball of a new idea getting bigger, transformation. Yeah,
So, all right. So part of that holistic piece is understanding that everything is energy. This is an Einstein quote, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. So this picture is our energetic body. And you'll notice that kind of donut looking shape is a torus. So we have an electromagnetic field. We are energetic beings. And everything we think, is energy. Our feelings are magnetic, we're sensory beings. We're reading energy through our sight, through our hearing, through our touch, through our taste. It's all energetic messaging. And so I'm going to bring that to our next slide. This is a frequency scale of emotions consciousness. And we do have the power to change how we feel by consciously building our capacity for higher states of being. That being said, having the beginnings that we have experienced, I put a little line here that we have a root wound, a root origin wound, a trauma at our very beginnings that creates this state of being, fear. We live in this state of being often. And so we haven't built a lot of capacity for these higher states of being. We have moments where we feel into this, right? But holding and living from here at consistently, right? That's what we're working on. And so we often are here in these lower feelings. and I'm going to go to, for time's sake, I'm going to go to the next page, but you can see here that love, gratitude, enlightenment, courage is a bridge, uh, feeling, I would say more of a state of consciousness where we're choosing to be brave and vulnerable and do something while we feel the fear. And it begins to step us out of these lower frequency feelings. Courage is really important to in helping us to transform and build capacity. Simon, do you want to read these?
Yeah. So the, energy, feelings, consciousness, it's all the three synonyms, right? So it's this
Mhm.
scale of consciousness from naught to 1,000. So what we saw last slide was a kind of like a generic one, and Jude made some comments, sort of commentary in terms of adoptee specific. So what I did was I looked at the levels, and I looked at where I've been and where we sometimes are as adoptees. And I'm not gonna read all those out to you, but you can see that this is we're going up in the world here. But I was a lot of me was around anger, general anger, anger to certain people, and also anger to broader people as well. Um, but we see some of the trends here in terms of suicidal ideation, suicide, addiction, and all those stats that everybody puts out there about how we as adoptees are more prone to this stuff. Um, and yeah, I can't heal. Number 50, I can't heal or change my existential wrongness. Well, I remember reading that 10 years ago, no, feeling that, thinking that, 10 years ago, reading The Primal Wound. I thought, I'm stuck with it. I'm stuck with it. And we're not 200, the level goes from 0 to 200 and then 200 above. 200 is the growth and transformation bit, life affirming. Um, 200,
Yes. So
courage, first level of true power. You want to grow and transform. What got you here today, right? So you saw something that Jude posted or something that I posted, and you thought, I'll give this, or you saw something on Eventbrite, and you thought, yeah, um, I want to grow and transform. So that perhaps subconsciously is, or consciously, that's what got you here today. Yeah. Um, and we're climbing we're climbing this ladder. We're creating a space for this ladder. We're showing you the whole scale, and we're showing you
yes,
we're not just staying um, in that
lower states
bit
of consciousness.
lower states of consciousness, right? So I remember from my being coached, talking about BED, blame, excuses, and denial, right? And then we're talking about rowing earlier on, you've got or ownership, accountability, and responsibility. So we're not stuck. We're moving from a hard done to a move forward. What happened to me happened for me, right? We're moving
Yeah.
forward. Towards, we're going, yeah,
Yeah. And so some of the work that we would be doing in the growth and transformation would be helping you guys to make connections to these higher states of being and working on building, differentiating them and building capacity and connections so that you can hold higher states of being in your body. Uh, we, it's very well documented that when we're in lower states of being, we have more sickness and disease and disease in our bodies. So um, it's all connected. That's why the holistic approach is really important to Simon and I. Anything else on this page?
no, we're good. I think we're
All
good.
right.
Okay.
Awesome. So that brings us to growth and transformation or holistic. So often, we have therapy is very big in our culture, in our society at large. And I have done a lot of therapy and it has been helpful, but it doesn't address everything. It doesn't address every part of me. It's really focused here on the mind. And yet there's the physical aspect of myself, there's the spirit and essence of myself, there's social, my relationships with family, friends, and then the heart, the emotions. And so what's beautiful is that there are guidepost moments in our growth and transformation that we can kind of map. Coming out of the fog is an example of that. And yet, for each one of us, our journey is really individual and different and unique. And I believe that life will bring up our next area of healing because it becomes that aha moment, that insight. And we're like, oh, that. And then we shift our beliefs and we follow that insight that life brought to us. And so we have all these access points into our healing. It might come through the emotions or heart, it might come through the mind, or the body might be sending us messages that are saying, hey, I need you to pay some attention here, right? It might come through the spirit. It might be here through social because we're seeing some patterns or, some relationship changes that are needed, boundaries needing to be set. So there are all these areas, all these different access points and we all go our own pace on this journey because our growth and transformation is individual. And yet, like I said, there's a guidepost moments, a kind of a general map that brings us home to ourselves and to our wholeness and really helps to empower us to step into our agency and sovereignty of choice making for our life so that we begin to feel better and better about our life and build that capacity to hold higher states of being. And it's gets exciting when you realize that you like even if it's just that incremental little baby step up that scale, but you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not so fearful as I used to be, and in pausing to celebrate that because you have done the work, growth and transformation for yourself, and you're building a rapport of trust with yourself so that you can be more confident to move in your agency and sovereignty in your life and in your own healing journey. Um, Simon, would you like to add anything here?
Yeah. So I guess traditionally we've looked at mind and heart, in psychology, and we're
Yeah,
saying that it's bigger than that. We're giving a broader view of growth and transformation that's more inclusive and more
yes,
accurate. So, for example, I'm doing somatic experiencing, right, as a client. Yeah, I'm not a therapist. Uh, I'm doing somatic experiencing. So I'm doing that because I believe there may be some pre-verbal trauma that's stuck in my body and that I want to release. Soma is Greek for body, I think. So that's, I'm working with a somatic experience I see every month or so, and we do body work. We do body work, and that's basically focusing on what's going on in our bodies and releasing the stuff. Because as Bessel van der Kolk says, the body keeps the score, right? But there's only like I can only find one somatic experiencer within 2 hour drive of me, right? But there's a gazillion therapists, right? But the somatic stuff is I believe really big for us because we're talking about pre-verbal trauma with stuff that's in our cellular memory. Yeah, you can't, if we haven't got words for it, um, if we haven't got words for it, then how can we express it um, within talk therapy? Talk therapy doesn't work for pre-verbal trauma because we have no words for it. We just have that feeling within our bodies. We get that sickening feeling in the pit of our stomachs. That
hmm
sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Like I said, I have experienced therapy and it's been helpful. But when I began doing, I did EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. It's tapping on acupressure points with a trauma-informed practitioner who calls herself an inner child advocate, and that helped my growth and transformation like exponentially because we did go into pre-verbal trauma, womb experiences, and release grief, terror, and emotions. And so uh, it's most definitely important to look at each aspect of ourselves holistically to move forward. So thank you. I'm going to go ahead to our next one.
So 95% more likely to develop positive habits with support and accountability. So Jude, you were talking about the stuff on the inside, how that reflects on the outside, right? So we're
Yeah.
talking about mind and body, and we're talking about our relationships. So habit, support, and accountability,
Mhm.
creating a container for that change.
Yes. So part of what Simon and I have created is it's a 6 month container group, and it will be obviously supportive, but also with that support and account, it comes with a little accountability, and we are 95% more likely to create change in our lives. When we're just doing it alone, it takes a lot longer. There's an amplification process that happens when we have others that even it's 65%. Like if you had a neighbor that you said, "Hey, I'm going to start walking in the mornings." If you said that just to yourself, the chances of you following through are a lot less. If you just even told a neighbor, you're 65% more likely to actually get up and start walking in the mornings. So, but if you have a group where you're setting these intentions for yourself and you're working together and you're encouraging each other, you're 95% more likely to have the change that you're hoping for. And so that's part of what we've created intentionally. And so, like I said, it's 6 months or 24 weeks. And we've set it up. There's the first 2 weeks are focused on holistic, what it means, healing, how we can support that. And the next 4 weeks, we go over mind and we work on some of the things that we talked here. We talk a lot about that, but we actually will be teaching each week. And then there's a support private Facebook group that for support. And I'll probably be posting little videos in. We'll do embodiment practices, right? Because the body, which would be the next 4 weeks, is hugely important also in our journey. And then 4 weeks on the heart. So, and you can see what falls into these. So each week there's something special that we'd be focusing on and working through together. And then social relationships for 4 weeks. We'll talk about sacred boundaries and boundarying not out of reaction, but from a heart-centered space, communication, all these things listed here. And then the next 4 weeks would be spiritual, and that's that inner journey, knowing ourselves, sovereignty, uh, our essence, and building that relationship within. And then the integration would be the last 2 weeks. So in our growth and transformation journey, I was talking about the map. Part of the map includes whenever you have had an aha moment and you've shifted your beliefs. And I kind of want you to like think of an aha moment you've had and follow that with me with what organically happened within you, because we begin to shift our beliefs once we have an aha. So we bust the old belief and we create a new belief. And it takes some time to practice it and build it. And it changes on the inside of us first, and then the outside, and then it becomes very solid in us. It becomes a new belief that we're anchored in. I like to say that it's like in our bones. And that's the integration process. We shed the old and we integrate the new until we embody it and it becomes a part of us. So this is what we would be going over slowly because growth takes time. And so just taking time for, 6 months to go over all of this with the people who sign up. Simon, do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, so the embodiment piece Jude's talking about, we can I talk about going, like having a new idea. So can get something in our head, we can get something in our heart, or we can get something in our bones, right? So this is about
Mm.
a depth of the insight, right? Or not all insights are the same. Some are more profound than others. That difference that I was talking about uh, between an epiphany, which is a biggie, and epiphanet, which is a small one, right? So, but head, heart, bones. Um,
Yeah, I really like that head, heart, bones. Yeah. All right, we'll go on. Right. What to expect. So there would be weekly learning and we would record it. So for those that could make a live, that's great. And it would be recorded so people can watch it at whatever time is most convenient for them because we all are in different places in the world and there will be practice. There'll be guided support and mentorship with Simon and I and group support with those who come in and join and light accountability, supportive accountability. But just by being the support, there's accountability by saying it out loud and working together, right? Like it's kind of collaborative. And there'll be a dedicated Facebook group for support. So if there's questions that come up, right? And in that group, we'll be posting during the week and just doing supportive type things there. And Simon, you want to
and then,
finish us
yeah,
up and then we can answer questions?
so we're starting 2 weeks today, right? We're going to
Hmm.
be running every Wednesday for 24 weeks, an hour each week. And we've put a price down of £75 per month for 6 months. And we're doing 12 places on this first cohort. And this is the first time that we've run it. I've been running webinars for a couple of years now. Jude's been doing trainings for 4 or 5 years, I think. So, but this is the first time.
Probably 10, yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah, probably 10 years,
10, right? Okay.
but five with
I
adoptees.
underdid you. I underdid you, yeah. And
Well, yeah, five with adoptees. So you're
5 with
correct here.
adoptees, yeah. So we're putting this. So we're putting it as a special price for this first cohort, and we're limiting the first cohort to only 12. And you can go on if you want to register. You go onto the website, which is thrivingadoptees.com, and on the homepage, if you just scroll down, so there's a picture of me and my teddy bear, and then you'll see a little logo that says growth and transformation. And then underneath that, click on a button, and it'll take £75, and each month it'll take £70, £75 off you, unless you don't like it and you cancel it, right? You cancel it. You are only committing to 6 times £75. It's a 6 month container. If you like it and you going along with it, that's what's going to take out. But if you don't like it after the first month, just cancel it, and you won't be charged. Um, uh, yeah.
Right. Okay,
So
I'm going to stop our share screen. We'll come back and look at the questions. I saw a whole bunch popping in there all of a sudden. I was like, "Ooh, great. All right. Okay. I'm currently doing somatic therapy, and I would say it's the best thing I've been doing for yourself. That's awesome. That was Amy. Yeah, somatic experiencing is profound. It can be really profound because you'll see like some of the beliefs, the narratives, where it's in your body, and then just the releasing component. Um, let's see, it's hard to my problem is when I talk about my experience and the human rights violations in adoption, people start to get nasty and abusive and disenfranchise me. So I'm doomed either way.
Yeah.
Oh, like Kathy. I'm like, where's Kathy? Okay. I mean, I don't feel like I'm have like I think there are going to be situations, and this would for me, this would fall under stepping into our own agency. There's going to be situations where we know that people are going to not respond well. And so we have choices to make around what our nervous systems can handle in that moment. And there may be some moments where we're feeling really solid and strong and grounded, and we can handle those responses. And there may be some times when we can't. And so it becomes a self, what are a self care, falling under self care. Is today a good day for me to speak up, right? Because I think we do need to really step into the power of voices, or today not a good day for me to do that? Let's see, how much money would it be? Simon went over, I think it's 75 pounds, which is approximately 100 in the US.
I think it was 97 when I converted it yesterday, but obviously
97.
97.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, 97. You're Tia, you're welcome. Let's see, it doesn't matter how much work you work on yourself, it won't solve the problem of lack of community. Ooh, okay. Well, I have felt that I would not have community in life and then have developed community in life. And I think what can be hard is right now, at least for me, a lot of my community is online, right? So because I just moved, I'm wanting to create in-person community. There's some belief in there that could be busted. And then there's definitely support that could be had in a group like what Simon and I are talking about, that is all adoptees coming together in community with a really clear intention. Um, Kathy, meditation makes me more traumatized. It can actually, if we are in certain states, meditation should be paused. And that's something, I'm a meditation teacher. That's something we could talk about more. You're free to reach out to me because that's a little longer to describe, and I'm wanting to honor time because we're already at 4 minutes after. But meditation can sometimes activate our nervous system. So let's see. Okay, Lori went. Thank you both. Thank you. Thank you. And you put the link in the chat. Yes, I can do that.
Done it.
Oh, thank you, Simon. This will be ongoing once this group is formed 2 times a year. We likely will continue to do this, not just one time around. We've talked about that. Our plan would be to do it more than once. So, and there could eventually be a second part that would go deeper, right? So, I think that's all of the questions. Any other questions?
Cool. Thank you all so much. I hope you've
Yeah.
found it interesting. I'll be emailing you the link out to the replay tomorrow. And it'll be up on YouTube. And yeah, and I'm probably going to make it into a podcast as well, so people can listen to it. And say we're starting it 2 weeks today, and we're just running it for 12 people the first time around at that rate of £75. Yeah, $97 a month or so. Yeah. But
And I don't know if it was clear, but there will be embodiment practices as well. So that will be the part of the body piece, but it will be with throughout, so that we can begin to connect with our bodies and integrate. And so, yeah.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
Jay's saying, will you come on to We Are Family to talk to adopters who can share this with their young people? Um, yes. Yeah. It might be in a slightly different format, it might be in this format, but yes, some
Yes.
adoptees don't want to get involved with supporting adoptive parents. Jude and I most categorically do want to get involved with adoptive parents. Um, we're into
Thank you, guys.
education. We're into education. Like I'm still learning and sharing. We're all learning. We're all walking each other home, as you say, Jude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
So
yeah. Dizzy's saying, what will you do? What would you do? It's the money you earn from this. Well, yeah. So uh, this is paying for us to do this stuff. We don't have
yeah, to,
jobs. We don't have jobs. This is
yeah,
what
this is
what
what
we
we do.
what we do to
Yeah.
pay the bills. Yeah. Um, uh, yeah. Have you a link for your podcast on
Thank you,
YouTube?
Sage.
Yeah. If you just Google Thriving Adoptees on YouTube, you'll find it. Financially, I can't swing it right now. That's totally okay, Sage. Like
Yeah.
we're here to share whatever. We're not doing this for the money, but we do need to pay bills. So yeah, lots of love.
Yeah.
Any
Thank
last
you. Thank
questions?
you, guys.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. I'll
Thank you,
stop.
guys. Have a
Thanks.
great rest of your day, wherever you are in the world.
Thank you,
Thank
Jude.
you.
Thanks a lot. See you soon. Bye, everybody.